can to all of your partners who were not on the call, who could not get into the call. This call is absolutely jam-packed. And so good evening, everyone. Good morning. If you're in New Zealand, I think it might be 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning there. And welcome. All right. So what we're doing here, again, this is a special AURUM community Zoom call. For those that we haven't met yet, my name is Shane Morand. I'm the Chief Network Development Officer here at AURUM. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us early and for getting on this call. Whether you're dialing in from, Dubai, London, New York, Sydney, Africa, Europe, Asia, South America, or anywhere else in the world that you're dialing into, thank you, because your presence and your early presence really, and your continued support really mean a great deal to everyone at AURUM. And Mariana and I just got off the plane, and we spent the weekend visiting Belgium. And a quick shout out to all of our new friends in Belgium and the Netherlands. And this is really historical timing, what's happening here. To be in Belgium, only a few miles from Brussels. I don't know if you know what that means. As many of you know, the European digital asset industry has officially entered what we're going to call the MiCA era. Now, you may or may not be a fan of this enormous obligations, that they're placing. This MiCA framework imposes on companies who are already compliant, and many, will be, as of, I think, July 1st, will be 100% out of compliance in Europe. And there's a lot. I'm talking thousands of companies starting July 1st. And you may also agree, or maybe you disagree with the view that brings greater clarity. It says they're going to bring greater clarity, stronger consumer protection. They say it's going to be a more structured playing field, whatever that means. But for AURUM, for your company, this is not a challenge. We're simply reacting to this opportunity. We're looking at it as an opportunity, and we're embracing it as we enter the next stage of AURUM's evolution. Into what sector are we talking about here? We're talking about AI finance. And remember, we're in uncharted waters. And we're the pioneers of the entire AI finance sector, which is just in its infancy. I compare it to a baby, just learning how to crawl. That's where we are. And soon we're going to be running in the Olympics and taking the gold medal. All right. So that's where we are in our progress. We're just getting started. But tonight we've come together really to talk openly and transparently about how AURUM is adapting to this new regulatory landscape, and what it means for our products, what it means for our infrastructure, and our entire global AI finance ecosystem. What does all this mean? And that's why this call is not only historical, but it's urgent that if you're a partner, that you're on this call. And so in the next short while, you're going to hear an official update on where we stand, and more importantly, where we are today and where we're going. All right. And so to lead us through this important overview and strategic update, I'll be introducing you in a second here to our Chief Operating Officer of the AURUM Foundation, Andrew Isaacs. And Andrew is not only a key leader shaping AURUM's operations and strategy, but he's also the co-founder of Nero. All right, the co-founder of Nero. Now, his deep expertise in both traditional finance, he was with Morgan Stanley, and Web3 technology. He was also the managing director of one of the largest blockchain companies in the world, Galaxy Digital. All right, that's a massive company. So he's got both. So he's been instrumental really in guiding AURUM's, AURUM through this transformative, I would call it transformative period. And Andrew's been at the forefront of our work with innovation. And I can think of no one better to walk us through these historical details tonight, or this morning, wherever you're calling in from. And, this is a pivotal moment for AURUM in our history. And we really want you, our global community to be fully informed. And that's why we called this call here tonight. And we want you to be confident about the direction that we're taking. I'm fired up. I've got goosebumps. I've got goosebumps because I'm so fired up. Because I have a hint of what Andrew's about to talk about here today. or tonight, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you're calling in from, right? So just before I hand over the call to Andrew, I just want to say a big thank you once more to you for being part of this journey. I also want to thank everybody behind the scenes that is working 24/7, from Ahmed Zen, Brian Benson, to the entire technical team, and to everyone behind the scenes that are working, tirelessly 24/7 to make all of what you're about to hear even a possibility. All right. So, and again, your trust and your feedback and your participation, getting on this call early, is what really drives this forward. I mean, I know everyone is fired up that the call completely packed out way before we launched the call. So, we're building something really here, in my opinion, that's enduring. It's a financial ecosystem that combines the best of the innovation, best of the best innovation that's not available anywhere on the planet. We have it here at AURUM, and also it empowers our users. How many users, if you're on this call, you better be a user. And don't you feel empowered every day when you log in and see what's going on in the back? So without further delay, I'm going to talk on and on and on here, but without further delay, I'm really delighted to introduce Andrew Isaacs. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe we can turn the chat back up here. Let's help welcome our Chief Operating Officer of the AURUM Foundation and co-founder of Nero, Mr. Andrew Isaacs. All right, Andrew, the stage is yours, and welcome to the call.
Awesome. Thanks, Shane. You can hear me good?
Yep, perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, as great. Thanks for the kind welcome and kind way, everyone. As Shane mentioned, this is going to be a different call. We used to doing technology updates and these sort of things, but we've got a few slides to walk through today so that everyone can understand, at a broad level, the direction where things are heading from a regulatory perspective, but most importantly, where AURUM stands in that mix, where we're being proactive, what other licenses we're working on as well. I'll tease one now before I even get started, but we are actively working for a license out of Switzerland, which we're not going to be discussing on this call, but we're actively engaged in that and securing that. So there will be an update following that, but that's just a small tease. But the purpose of today is to give you guys really a as broad a perspective as possible as to what's going on and where we stand and what that means from day to day. So I'll be sharing this slide deck here. Can you guys see it, Shane? I can't see. Why won't it show me? All right, there we go.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Okay, you can see it well. Perfect. All right. So as Shane mentioned, MiCA is a big deal, which begins on July 1st, and the purpose of this course outlines is what does that mean, literally. And so I'm going to walk through these slides. I'm going to go potentially as slow as possible here so that people can really understand what it is that we're covering and where we're going. So as mentioned, and as Shane said, July 1, very significant day, which is Wednesday this week. As some of you may know or may not know, I know people are coming from different regions here, but the MiCA transitional period is coming to an end across the European Union. This, as it says here, but just to really, this is meaningful. This is a significant milestone for digital assets holistically. From this point forward, any crypto service providers operating in the EU will be required to comply with the new framework, right? And so, we saw this happen here in the US. A lot of people were nervous at first. What does this mean? What are the handicaps that are possible? Overall, what we saw here at least was it was actually very good for business overall, right? It created very simple playing fields. It allowed companies that were compliant, that knew what they're doing, that had the right teams to really grow more fully. And what it allowed to do is also secure additional investments into those companies, right? Because a lot of this is also to provide investors with a more broadly, just with a sense of comfort and certainty around this, this industry that has always had, always been myopic, just to some degree. So what does that mean for the industry as a whole? So, break this up into three critical components here, right? There'll be new regulatory components. There'll be an industry evolution, which is what I was touching on just now. And ultimately that leads to greater user choice, right? So for the new regulatory requirements, all these, any centralized crypto service provider, right, now must adapt to new licensing compliance and operational standards across the European market, right? Fine. Here are the rules. This is what you need to do. These are the licenses you need to have, and these are the compliance metrics that you need to have internally, and your reporting and these sorts of things. So, obviously we see from this is going to be, as you saw here in the US, just a natural industry evolution and next step as many companies will go expanding beyond their traditional centralized models and introducing, as we have, decentralized infrastructure. And obviously, there continues to be advancement in Web3 across the board. And this is no different to that. What does that mean for the users? They will now be able to choose between more and more regulated financial services, decentralized and non-custodial participation. So again, as I was touching on earlier, with regulation comes evolution. With evolution comes more choice. But what it does mean is it really has a good job of getting rid of the bad actors. So, the future of digital finance as we know it, right, is no longer going to be built around a single model. And it will combine regulated services with decentralized technologies. If I just pause there for a second, right, doing compliance, and I worked on a really significant M&A deal that had one of the largest exchanges in Japan that we brought onto the NASDAQ. Yeah. The centralized model itself is one thing to be compliant on, right? Because, the flow of funds is pretty easy to maintain. The KYC is pretty straightforward. When you enter into a decentralized model, it's incredibly difficult for, a geography as a whole to get comfortable in that. And so this movement, right, where folks potentially may say negative or whatever way they see it, right, it's ultimately possible because of what it will allow us to do from a decentralized perspective, of which we're already at the forefront on that. And so this is probably one of the most critical slides here, but how are we adapting, right? What exactly are we doing to make sure that we're meeting the requirements? As I mentioned about the Swiss license earlier, but outside of that, what are we doing here? And this has been, a topic of discussion that we had last time as a group, right? Where we've got AURUM, we've got Nero now on the decentralized fund, and so at AURUM, like we've always done, we're not going to follow any one single path, right? And so we're evolving our own ecosystem to meet these needs. Our strategy, right, as we have it today, is going to focus on expanding the decentralized infrastructure while continuing to develop our regulated products and services where appropriate, right? So I really want to just underscore that, right? We've seen an opportunity here on the decentralized side. We're going to have, regulation that is going to support that. We're already, or what we believe, a leader in that space. And so we're going to be doubling down on what we do from a decentralized infrastructure perspective. Whilst obviously, and it's critical, we will continue to develop our regulated products and services where appropriate. So I've repeated myself there because I really want to stress that we're going to double down on our decentralized infra and continue to develop, our regulated products and services where appropriate. And so what this approach ultimately allows us to do is to support user different preferences and continue to build at a rapid click on the decentralized side. So, and it's always tough for Shane on these Zooms because I can't get a sense of what's registering, where people are at. So I'm going to keep clipping along here. And then so let's take what I just said now and then look at that more holistically over a long-term view, right? One ecosystem, two complementary models. The regulated side, and of which so many are familiar with, and then obviously our decentralized path, of which Nero is, obviously sits at the forefront or the pinnacle of that, right? For the users that prefer regulated financial services, licensed operations, compliance with local regulations, regulated financial products, and continued global licensing. Again, like I mentioned, with what we're trying to acquire in Switzerland as well, right? So regulated path will continue. That's not going anywhere, right? And we're going to make sure that we obviously meet the requirements that we need to do, and therefore satisfying the users who prefer, investing in or taking positions in those regulated products. On the decentralized side, right, of which we have narrow, for the users who prefer the obviously Web3 or decentralized approach to things, obviously have our non-custodial products, continue with the smart contract execution, with the Web3 wallet connectivity, and then obviously overlap that this is still with user-controlled assets. And so when we took a step back and looked how the macro landscape is evolving and shifting, we made a very deliberate decision to continue pushing forward on both fronts, right? Because I believe, and a lot of us believe, that the decentralized opportunity here is significant and has the potential just for such enormous growth. And so it would be crazy to just focus on one or the other one, given what we've already built on the regulator side. So both of these models will be working together under our one AURUM ecosystem. Okay, and the critical part, right? Because talk is cheap, right? How exactly will this strategy be implemented, right? What exactly are we going to do across the regulated side, across the decentralized side, and how will that look in terms of user transition? How seamless will it be? How seamless are we trying to make it be, right? And so we're building a flexible ecosystem here, as I've said before. Got our regulated financial services on the one side and our decentralized operations on the other side. Obviously, giving being a platform then that gives users the ultimate choice. You can pick and choose which one of these channels you want to participate in, which one you feel more comfortable with, and frankly, which one is generating better returns. You can do either or. You can do both. We really want to stress enough here that this will be a holistic platform approach from both the regulated side as well as the decentralized side. On the regulated side, and just to reiterate this again, we'll continue expanding licensed and compliant financial services. We'll make sure those frameworks apply. These are through licensed operations and obviously a compliance-first approach. If we can't do something in a compliant manner, we're not going to do it. And where we follow that, we'll obviously have regulated financial products that can be spread far and wide. So again, continue to expand on the licensed and compliant financial services where the frameworks apply. Again, and this is because now we're talking about the EU, but given the countries that we're representing on that call, over time, each one of these geographies is going to have its own bill, its own legislation that gets passed. And so for the geographies in which we operate and for which we want to be compliant, we will do to the letter of the law as it's described, what follow that completely from a compliance perspective and make sure we're licensed appropriately in the regions. We will be spending a lot of capital to make sure that compliance is up to snuff and pass the necessary compliance tests, and then obviously be able to ship our regulated financial products to our customers. On the decentralized side, right, selected products, right, because not all of them will apply, but selected products will transition, right? This is critical. Selected products will transition to Nero's decentralized infrastructure, which is obviously, as you know, powered by smart contracts and has full Web3 capabilities and connectivity. As we'll know, but I'll say it again, this is non-custodial participation, this is smart contract execution, and this is Web3 wallet connectivity. So again, the key part of when you take it there is selected products, right, which we don't feel would be which we feel would be more appropriate to have under the Nero umbrella, will be transitioned over to Nero's decentralized infrastructure. And then finally, looking obviously for our seamless user transition. The migration of these products across the Nero will be introduced gradually, obviously ensuring continuity for existing users, while continuing our focus on making more greater participation for new products on the decentralized side. So I try to underscore one word there. I would say that it's going to be gradual, and I would say that it's going to be seamless, right? At the end of the day, we all have a responsibility here to make sure that the customers that have trusted us feel safe, feel comfortable. They know what this transition is going to look like, and what it's going to allow them to do, whilst obviously still providing regulated services on the other side. So any existing products that are already on the decentralized infrastructure will continue operating. There will be this gradual, again, underscore gradual Web3 integration, and ultimately then this is going to unify the AURUM ecosystem. All right, so what exactly will be transitioning, right? As I just mentioned on the previous slide, it'll be a gradual transition of selected products. So what are those products? And this is critical. So if you haven't been paying attention yet, this is probably where you want to start paying attention, right? So as part of our long-term strategy, selected products that I previously mentioned will transition to our decentralized infrastructure. Obviously, right, this transition affects the underlying technology, right? Because we're moving from centralized to decentralized, but it will not affect the products themselves, right? So I'm trying to think of like a layman's way to explain this. The product you're able to purchase, if this was a regular good, you'd still be able to purchase it. The product itself would still arrive shipped in hand as is, but you would be effectively buying it from a different store. Over and above everything, core strategies, objectives, user experience remains unchanged. And we will continue to push as far forward as we can to making sure that the user experience, even as it stands today, continues to evolve. We continue to get better and better. Is a number one priority for us, that any concerns get addressed, that any delays get addressed, that we really deal with a seamless user experience. Ergo, we'll be looking for a seamless user integration. So, all that said, what is moving across? XAI Bot will become Nero AI Trading Agent. XAI Probot become Nero AI Trading Agent. And then the RWA Gold AI Trading Layer will be transitioned over to the Nero infrastructure. I'll mention those again. The XAI Bot will transition over to the Nero AI Trading Agent. XAI Probot will transition over to the Nero AI Trading Agent. The RWA AI Trading Layer, RWA Gold AI Trading Layer, will transition over to the Nero infrastructure. Again, this transition will be gradual. Everybody will be informed play by play as we go. Seamless user experience, seamless integration and rollover. So what stays the same? So I know that's been obviously a lot to digest for everyone. And, again, I really wish I was seeing, Shane, I really wish I was seeing everyone's faces so I could, I'm just looking at my ugly mug, but we've obviously covered a lot there. So what will be staying the same? From a trading and investment perspective, as we've said previously, all the strategies, the technology, I should say technology, put technology in two parts, right? Technology in terms of the system will operate under that they're changing, but the technology that allows us to produce these results, i.e. the AI, the underlying strategies, this remains unchanged from technology that powers those strategies to the strategies themselves. Ergo, the existing trading algorithms continue to operate and we continue to evolve on those, right? As we had said right at the beginning, right at the beginning, when I looked at what the strategy was, it was to double down on the decentralized part, but to make sure that we continue to develop and evolve, products that are still on the centralized side, right? So those algos that are operating on that side will stay, continue to invest capital and resources into making sure that they get better and better and better. Obviously, product objectives and the target performance will remain the same. Again, when we transition something over, as I'd used the layman's terms before of just buying a product, right, or a physical good, the product itself does not change. How you buy the product changes for some of these. And obviously, all our existing models are preserved. What else stays the same? Existing users, right? Existing active products continue to operate throughout the transition, right? None of the users, none of your customers are going to go to bed one night and wake up the next day saying, well, where did things go, right? Existing positions will remain active without interruption. This transition only affects the infrastructure, not the trading logic. And I'm reading that and I want to stress it, it's critical. The transition affects the infrastructure, not the trading logic. So your existing users will continue to see what's there. The transition will be gradual. right? And I've already covered which products are being transitioned over. So how exactly will the transition work? So, and just to take a recap quickly, what have we discussed? We've discussed that the bifurcation between regulated sort of custodial and our non-custodial parts, where we will be doubling down and where we will continue to invest in development. But how exactly will the transition work? So on existing products, all of the existing products will continue operating normally while the transition takes place. Again, none of your customers are going to go to bed tonight and wake up tomorrow with noticing any significant changes. New participation. As products move to Nero, new participation will be available only through the Web3 wallet connectivity and smart contracts. So this is a critical piece, right? Once that transition is there, for the new participation, for people that you're speaking to today or tomorrow or the day after, right? The only way to access those products, right, is going to be through the Nero infrastructure. And that's a critical component. And then the Web3 migration. So this is critical. Withdrawals from the existing into the Nero decentralized infrastructure, withdrawals will be made available to Web3 wallets and will be introduced in phases. Phase 1, optional Web3 wallet withdrawals, right? So customers will have the option to withdraw those funds from this side to this side, right? Phase 2, Web3 wallets will become the standard withdrawal method for decentralized products. So phase 1 will be optional, phase 2 will be mandatory or the standard by which will be the only withdrawal for decentralized products. Again, and we've used this word gradual many times, and I want to keep stressing on this point because it's important, but the transition will be gradual, right? This is not going to be, 12 o'clock midnight switch, very gradual. We want to, and it is a priority for us to ensure that there is continuity for existing users, while obviously also introducing this next generation of decentralized infrastructure, which we've been working so hard on and which we truly believe is the future on a global basis. So with all that said, right, this is a lot to digest. These are big moves. Certain things change, certain things stays the same. We believe the most important things stay the same. And we believe the evolution and the gradual transition over to our decentralized infrastructure is a critical component of what we're doing. So, for us, this is more than just a technology upgrade, right? For us, it represents really the next stage of our evolution. As we're seeing the digital assets ecosystem continue to evolve year after year, day after day, month after month, AURUM continues to evolve. As we've been on so many calls together speaking about new products, new development, right? This is what we do 24/7. We evolve. And we're evolving to combine regulated, licensed, compliant financial services product with AI-powered automation and Web3 technologies into one unified ecosystem that will serve the needs of all of our customers, as well as putting us in good graces with the regulatory compliance or regulatory frameworks that exist or may come to exist down the line in other geographies, right? And so we really want to have this concentrated, bespoke umbrella, right, for what we believe is the future of digital finance, right? And that will be both on the regulated side as well as the Web3 side, all brought together by our AI-powered automation. And obviously, as this transition continues, we will keep expanding globally while giving users greater flexibility, right? Number one, transparency. Number two, and control over how they participate within the AURUM ecosystem broadly. So one ecosystem, one vision, right, built for the future of digital finance. And we believe that under this umbrella, we will be able to pick and choose the geographies where we want to invest more capital into and expand there either on a regulated on a centralized or a decentralized basis, as well as to continue to deploy our resources, both capital and time, right, into really making sure that our decentralized framework is not only the best that we can do, but the best that's out there available on the market, and to truly become the market leader in that phase, where we believe that is where, to use a hockey term, although I don't play hockey, but to see where the puck is going. So, Shane, with all that said, yeah, there's and I'll mention the Swiss license, which we're in the process of acquiring one more time, but that'll be discussed at a later stage when we have more detail and full information given. But this is a really really a lot to cover here. I'm incredibly excited about it because it means the opportunity for growth is now unbound, and it gives us just greater flexibility in what we can do. But I'll stress again, seamless transition, gradual transition, continue to prioritize customers' funds and the customer experience. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I'll spend some more time with Shane so I can get the hype, but I really just wanted to deliver the fact to you so that you can you know exactly where you stand and what the future holds.
Hey, Andrew, let me, I know you can't see the 1,000, there's over 1,000 people on the call here. I know you want to see them and you want to see the crowd. They're fired
Maybe
up.
not.
Anyone who understands anything about anything really is fired up. I could see the comments coming in. People get it quick. I got a kind of unfair advantage, Andrew, because I've known that this was coming for a little while. Right, so I got to look into it and kind of get the questions out, but we will put together a full FAQ. And I want to thank you, Andrew, man. That's for the transparency and plus the timing of everything that's coming up. And so into layman's, like you said, trying to find the layman's words. You know, really, we've got the best of both worlds. So the products that AURUM wants to be regulated, they want to go into the we're going to go in the areas because it's not free. When you go to do all this regulations, it's not really free. So AURUM may decide in some markets they want to use this product for regulated products, but the emphasis, I think, is moving towards the narrow as kind of the nervous system and the foundation of what we're doing. So everything, you know, is really moving to a decentralized area, which is absolutely phenomenal, you know. And really, we're building an entire infrastructure for anyone who's already, you know, used Narrow. You already know. Some haven't even tried the Narrow product, so it'll be kind of a little bit foreign to them. But don't worry. Again, what Andrew stressed really is it's going to happen slowly. It's good, but it's going to happen. And this is the direction. This is where we are, and this is the direction that we're taking. I did make a lot of notes here, Andrew, to try to bring everybody, you know, into so simple that everybody on this call has to understand this. That really you know, is this whole ecosystem is basically nothing, because I'm getting a lot of questions. What about this? What about this? What about this? What about? Nothing's going to change, guys. In the back, what's changing is underneath. It's the infrastructure underneath. So it's really invisible to all of the users. Everything, there's no with the XAI bot, we're just going to be using it in a slightly different way. So we know what I was noticing, Andrew. This is what we're talking about here. This is why I'm so fired up. This is not borrowed technology. You know, this is not off the shelf, something that someone's going to say, hey, look what AURUM's doing. We want to do that, right? We're talking about, you know, let's talk specifically about Narrow for a second. It was really built for AURUM, right? And imagine the investment that went into that whole infrastructure. And it was really, and AURUM was really built for who? AURUM was built for you, for the people, for the partners, for many people that don't even know that AURUM exists right now. And so I made some notes on what stays the same. For example, for the partners, you know what they're interested in? Their positions, right? Your positions remain active. The algorithms keep executing. Your products keep running. Everything, you see what we're the same thing. But the transition, you know, again, it's what's happening underneath that's going to change, which is which in my opinion is we're in a different atmosphere, you know, with this announcement. I believe we're just in a whole different ballpark where other companies are not that are saying that they're talking AI finance. They're not even in the same area here. So what is really going to change is just everything just gets stronger, in my opinion. Everything gets better. Everything, you have more control over everything. you know, all the AI powered automation, the smart contract execution, the Web3 wallet connectivity. And every time you mention this, Andrew, the non-custodial participation remains the same, you know, all under this. So, you know, when I think about this,
Shane, Shane, I think just echo that. And the one thing I'd say is that moving certain things across to the decentralized side, it really just allows us to innovate at a much higher cadence, right? Because we can the speed of product delivery, but just sort of what we can do, right, on the decentralized, right? And that's really why it became a focus. Is the sky's really the limit on that side in terms of product evolution and new products we'll be able to offer, right? So again, keeping things under one umbrella, being able to satisfy both, but really with a focus of moving things over to a decentralized framework.
Yep. And again, not a lot. There's a few companies out there talking about, you know, AI, but AI is built into the foundation of AURUM. It's already built into the foundation. And again, I made a note here that AURUM is really not a feature. I mean, the narrow part is not a feature. It's actually the nervous system of everything that AURUM is doing here. And you know, we're not retrofitting. It's or even catching up. You know, I'm trying to put into words here how big this is. Let's put it this way. Let me just put it this way. I think that you know, we talk about, is AURUM kind of staying ahead of the curve? Is this what this is about? No, AURUM is the curve. We are the curve. We're not staying ahead of it. We are the curve, and everyone in the industry has got to look at AURUM to see what AURUM is doing to try to come up with something similar. So that's amazing. So Andrew, thank you so much. We're going to come out with a whole FAQ. So we're going to put all the top questions. We'll get them answered over the next couple of days. But I really wanted to thank you, Andrew, for really updating everyone. I wanted to also, in the background, thank Brian Benson, Ahmed Zan, and the entire corporate and technical geniuses for putting this together. And it's only going to take a little bit of time where you'll figure out, you'll wake up probably at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, wow, like this is pretty powerful. And this is the future of AI. So thank you again. Thanks, everyone. Andrew, is there any final words? What if there was one thing that you could recommend maybe to the partners, or one focus, what would that be?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think underscore the same words. Transition will be gradual, right? The fundamentals of what it is that we do, the returns, the targets, the benchmarks, the objectives remain unchanged. We're selling the same product, just through different rails. So gradual, FAQs will be supplied and answered. Everything changes, and everything changes, stays the same. But really, folks should really be excited about this, because going on a decentralized model, you know, where we're going to be focusing on new products on that side, really the opportunity for growth there far outsizes anything that we would have been able to do on the centralized side. And so really, this is a strategic decision. We've got the long view in mind. We know where certain big players in the industry are going, how they're looking at decentralized finance, right? It is not going anywhere. It's becoming front and center of so many conversations I'm having behind the scenes. So I would say that would be a transition will be gradual, but the upside, in terms of what we can deliver on a decentralized basis, far outsizes what we would be able to do on a centralized basis.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And maybe just for 1 second, we'll just take this one kind of question. I'm sure everyone who is new to the whole, what is centralized versus decentralized, right? What is centralized compared to, can you just break that down quickly for people that don't know what the difference is? And one more thing is that the decentralized is a much bigger opportunity, the much bigger future, and where AURUM wants to invest their capital to grow, rather than the centralized. There's no growth opportunity, or there's very limited, and a massive investment would go into that, correct?
Yeah, and if I had to put it into just 2 other words to explain, I would just say custodial versus non-custodial, right? So when I think about decentralized, I think about non-custodial. This is clients having their funds in their Web3 wallet and being able to engage with our agents by way of smart contract. That is the best way to sum up decentralized. Funds are there, our smart contracts are there. engage the smart contracts, see the returns in your wallet, right? Deposits and withdrawals all via your Web3 wallet. So that's how I would caption, instead of like, if you don't want to think about centralized and decentralized, I would think about custodial and non-custodial.
Perfect. Perfect. So everyone, thanks to all the partners. We've got a packed call here. I want to thank you for your, your loyalty and your unified global, the whole organization. It really continues, Andrew, to amaze me every week, for all their trust and leadership. And speaking of leadership, by the way, be sure to schedule your team for next week's Mastery Call 90-day game plan. It's continuing, and what we're talking about is leadership. So great call. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the call. Bye for now. Thanks, Andrew.